So, court report. July the 2nd, 2023. Tomorrow, on the 3rd, I go back to court. We've just had a week off. And it will be the 10th day. Clearly, the first week was only a 4-day working week because it was the week before Easter. So we had Good Friday off. So we've had 9 days so far. This will be the 10th day in court. A quick recap. So far, we did the factual witnesses, the people who had actually some personal involvement in the actual case. Then we've had Dr. Powell, the orthodontic expert for the prosecution, first cross-examined by the prosecution and then by Stephen Vollo, my KC. It's just, it's really weird for my life to be going sort of in front of my eyes. I'm a bystander in this process, remember, so I sit in the front row as the accused for this whole time, and it's a real mind F, I can tell you, because this is your life, and this is really the culmination of to some degree, my grandfather, but mainly my father, and of course me, my entire life. I've banked everything, I've literally bet the farm on this. And there it is happening in front of my very eyes. And it's really difficult. I mean, the build-up, it's taken 6-year build-up. I have got rid of the lawyers provided me by my indemnity society. So clearly I have insurance. You have to have insurance to practice. I chose to have insurance with the Premier brand. And they took me through most of it, so the first sort of 4.5 years of paperwork and little sort of mini hearings, because whoa, I've been through really have been through it. We had 3 what's called interim committee orders, ICO events, where they could have struck me off, a quick day to check there's nothing that is dangerous about what I'm doing. I'm not a clear and present danger. The example they gave me was that if I had complaints that I was making passes or all my female patients, then they would have a mini hearing like that, and then they would have they'd make up sort of a rule, condition that I couldn't see female patients. So there we go. So the example is that if you were making hits on your female patients and that got reported, they would have a hearing and you would not be able to see female patients. And then you would carry on with that stipulation in place until the actual hearing. So we had these 3 events and they decided I wasn't an actual current danger, so I could continue practicing in my clinic. Well, kind of lucky they did, because the first one of those must have been 3.5, best part 4 years ago, and then we had another one later that year, and it's just been it's just one event and the next event, and then of course this big main event got put back a couple of times. So that makes it will be by November when they'll have the final hearing. It's over 6 years since this all started, and I do think. It's the whole, I stagger to, it's reality. I'm in court and I'm the accused, and if I lose this, then everything I believe is wrong, is proved wrong. So, I give you some examples. So, Stephen Powell made a couple of comments. He said, the tongue plays no part in the growth of the bones. I think I'm quoting him right. We'll get it when the script comes out. He then says, tongue does not affect facial form. So, here's his position. And of course, I couldn't be further away from this. How can I believe anyone reading the science actually come to that decision? And yet he's presenting a orthodox, an establishment viewpoint. And how do I get that information into there? Because This is an assault on honour, was it? It's assault. This is a clash of two complete philosophies. This isn't really the place in the GDC to have a clash of philosophies. And my barristers are not arguing. We don't have to be right. That's not the point. In fact, the General Dental Council are not there to arbitrate the truth. All they're there to do is to see if I fulfill the bolum and bolitho. I say that word wrong. I thought it was bolit. Anyway, it was on book I read, bolitho. So, bolum and bolitho, I think it is, are these suggestions that as long as there's a body of responsible people who have science and have a logical argument about what they're doing, then I'm fine. And that's all my barrister's trying to show, because that's all they really need to show, that there's a group of people doing what we're doing. And we're breaking orthotropics down into three areas, which is functional appliances, because we use those, expansion, because we use expansion, and myofunctional therapy. And largely that is basically all of orthotropics. That's it in a nutshell. And each of those elements, I think there is clearly enough people doing those. Anyway, so yeah. So I find myself accused, and so Powell's also making the statements, is saying there's no ability to expand the lower jaw. All you can do is tip the teeth, and I think if you're not going to change the posture and function, he possibly has a point in the long term. He makes a lot of, he talks a lot about rickets. So it was rickets. No, sorry, Tweed, not rickets, Tweed. Makes a lot of point with Tweed. He says how Tweed was a disciple of Edward Angle, the guy who came up with the fixed braces, because of course in our mind really orthodontics is fixed braces, and so the fathers of fixed braces are considered the fathers of orthodontics. People like Frankel don't get much of a look in these days. Anyway, Angle was doing expansion. Tweed looked at these expansion results, had a lot of failures, so then extracted teeth and then retreated everyone. And he makes a big, Tweed's clearly a bit of a hero in Powell's thought process. So he refers to Tweed and Tweed's work quite a lot. He also says functional appliances. At one point he calls people using aficionados, I think, of functional appliances. I thought that was quite telling. He's saying that functional appliances don't get long-term change. What they can do is accelerate or decelerate growth that's going to occur anywhere. And I get the strong impression from him. I don't think we've actually dissected it down, but he thinks that the basal bones, or the base structure of the bones, their growth is genetically determined. So that's it. I mean, you might have some change in the what we refer to as the dental alveolus, so the teeth and the bone around those teeth. Okay, he thinks that can be affected, but he thinks that I think we've not really drilled down that the basic bones can't be. Now, it seems strange, because I've tried to get everyone to do. I had a letter writing campaign from 2009 from the article "The Black Swan." Google it, and a letter writing campaign following that. I'll put in the links below. The letter writing campaign where I asked everyone for a debate on why teeth are crooked. And of course, from my view of the literature, it's not just the basal bone, it's a whole lot. A whole shaboodle is genetically determined. And so, of course, if we'd had that argument back in, I asked that for 2009 and carried on till about 2015. Letter writing campaign, everyone, Minister of Health, All-Party Dental Committee, General Dental Council, a lot. British Orthodontic Society. I really did my homework, and we didn't get that debate. And he seems, we're treating a third, if not more, of the population with a treatment. It's openly admitted that the speciality, my speciality, don't know the cause of the problem, and they refuse to engage in a debate on why the teeth were crooked. And then, because, the GDC set a precedent. In 1937, they had a debate on why teeth are crooked. Now here we are in 2023, coming up for 100 years later. I think it's about time we could repeat that debate. Is it my one right as a scientist to be able to ask questions? be able to have debate on subjects. I think this is one of the great things which we're not doing at the moment. And of course, I'm the wrong type of person in most orthodontists' opinion. And is it right that the wrong type of person doesn't get invited to present, engage, do anything? I think that's where I think orthodontists are on their shakiest ground. We need to talk, we need to engage. And that's, I think, what's brought this problem up. And of course, because the General Dental Council didn't repeat that debate of 1937, well, should I say, had they done so, had they followed what is realistically the scientific process and had that debate, then we wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be strung out. I wouldn't have spent everything, For the last, most of that 6 years, or at least the latter half, I can't change clinics, I can't take loans, I can't do anything. Well, you've got this court case hanging over your head. For a significant percentage of my working career, I've had, particularly at this point of my career, because this is when you start doing things, and I've had that hanging over my head. It's cost me everything, literally. Well, I wouldn't say everything I have, but it's, sold my house, then got rid of the deposit for the next house, and then inheritance. I don't make much what I'm doing. So, trying to come up with ideas. You need millions of pounds to do what I'm doing. Millions and millions. To come up with a concept based on a completely different concept. And it doesn't come easy. It doesn't come cheaply either. And it's really hard because I'm now in a situation where I've got to give what's his name? Objective clinical evidence to support all the things I'm saying and doing. Now, that's harder said than done when all the objective clinical evidence is done by the people believing in fixed appliances. The current sort of the people are thinking with the current orthodontic narrative. People who I don't want to say swallowed the current. I'm not here to. I don't want to be it's pejorative about orthodontics. Although clearly you can't, because you can't be pejorative about science, because by the nature of science, anyone should welcome critique. That's the nature of science. But we don't have critique. We don't have critique in orthodontics. I'm not allowed to get up and challenge people. This is crazy. We never have this debate, despite my letter writing campaign. How can a profession that's treating so many of the youngsters, our future, up to half, in some areas it's way more than half of the future of developing countries, particularly in the wealthier areas. So it's the prime group. I mean, how many people going to Ivy League colleges in the US or UK didn't have orthodontics of some description, degree or something? Now, a lot of them are now wearing retainers, which in effect is holding their teeth out of their balance zone. And we're not asking the simple question of why teeth are crooked. And now, I guess because I think, in my opinion, that I wouldn't be taken to court now if the General Dental Council of England had had a debate on why teeth are crooked. I don't think we could be there. I think it could happen because, well, you couldn't have this expert now. He couldn't be there because I'd say, well, we had that debate and it was, you lost, mate. And I can't, a lot of these statements they're saying, you can't justify that on published objective clinical evidence. Okay, I'm sure there's some points. I'm sure accidentally in my paperwork I veered over and said, muddled up that. This is what I think with what's certainly provable. It's so easy to do. However, I think that I would win any free, fair and full debate to demonstrate those points on the balance of scientific probability are true. So this is a difficult conundrum here. Can I prove them clearly with published objective clinical evidence? That's the debate. That's the debate we're going to have, so I won't go into it too much. Could I prove them beyond reasonable probability in a scientific environment? Yeah, I could. That's what I've staked my reputation on. That's all I'm asking for, is that type of debate. And to think that we're having that now in court where I'm the accused, and, it's really hard because this guy's word is taken. He's an expert. He's an expert who I could prove fundamentally wrong. I think in a free, fair and full debate on most core subjects, when we take it to its eventuality, I could prove him wrong, which is, is absolutely nonsensical. This is... Okay. I mean, we're discussing how we can tease out the core evidence. Anyway, I won't go into what I'm discussing with my legal team. He is brilliant. Stephen Vullo is the business. If anyone in dentistry has any problem with orthodontics, get Stephen Vullo. Don't care. Dismiss your legal team. Get Stephen Vullo. He is brilliant. I mean, lock, stock, brilliant. Probably in many other areas, but he now knows more orthodontics than many orthodontists I know. It is crazy. Crazy how he's done that. Now, what really annoys me is that we've got all these people who have had, are going to have had, or are going through orthodontics, and we're not even trying to work out what the basic, if you understand the cause of the problem, then you understand the pathological process, and then you can try and prevent or modify that process. One of the good tenets within medicine is we treat the cause of the problem. Now, it would be... is it not staggeringly important to find out the cause so that you can treat it? Now, please do follow the link through to prevent crooked teeth that will be under this as well. And I'll give a link to our donations because, this takes millions of pounds to do. It can't be me doing this. I sometimes wonder why I'm stupid enough to get into all of this. The Mewing app is out. Go and Google that. I'll put a link if I can put things. It's a Mewing app with my name on it. You can buy that. That will help me. Okay? Because you get precious little from doing this. Treatment doing this doesn't make money. That's why no one does orthotropics. Why don't you find orthotropists? Doesn't make money. There's only people like me that's stupid enough to do it that pushes things forwards. I just want the truth. I don't know why I want the truth. I damned it if I want the truth. And I want to find the best way. And I do sort of glorify myself. I would like to be that guy that is... I don't have to be the best, but I've got to be pretty good in the top clique of helping people change facial form. That's what I want to do. We'll help people do it independently themselves, but I'm in charge really of a vanguard of doctors wanting to help. There's a disaster out there. People, you watching this, you know that. There's an absolute disaster. People who understand what's happening to faces. When I walk down the street, I'm seeing car crash, victim, disaster, all the way down. It's just absolutely crazy. Mewers and people watching this, take this time, go out, make other people aware of this, see this. We need, I've created a grassroots change. I'm well on the way there to, I'm single-handedly changing the world. It is happening. That's the thing that keeps me going, because I've been some really, really, I probably would be vied for being clinically depressed now. But I'm not a depressive person and I keep myself going. But, it's really hard to do all of the extra things that you don't have to do when you're just so goddamn focused on just one thing. It's in your head, it's in your mind, it defines you, and it's there all the time. I was watching this program about post-traumatic stress. And, if I believe what they're saying about post-traumatic stress, well, I've got post-traumatic stress coming up probably sometime, regardless of whether I win this or not. Or maybe I won't, because I'll push myself through. as I've pushed. Some days I literally just come in, I have to scrape myself out of bed, push myself to cycle or walk down that hill and come into work, because it is really, really tough. And, it's nice to know that someone's listening to this, and quite a lot of people are listening to this, because I want to start this mission to find answers. I mean, how else are we going to find answers? Unless someone takes the fall, like me. Hope I'm not taking the fall here, but unless someone does something, nothing else moves. That thing, when good people don't stand up, the world is a worse place. When good men, well, it could be women, but when good men don't stand up, the world is a worse place. And I've got to stand up. I have to say, I'm always the idiot that stands up and says these things. And here I am being the idiot again. And standing up against everyone. My whole profession think I'm a known charlatan. You can use my name to generate laughs. As I said, story, I went and saw a lecture at a postgraduate centre a while ago. And the dean of the of academia, he sorted out what the syllabus was. He decided what went in the syllabus. So basically what was science, as far as dentists are concerned, at the largest dental teaching school, which is massive. One of them is massively bigger than the rest. And he finished the lecture. I went up to him because, he's made some controversial points. He clearly enjoyed making the controversial points. And he was full of, little one-liners. And so I went up at the end and I said, I'm fascinated to see some of the evidence behind supporting some of the things you said. Now, he wanted to say, another little quib one-liner, that we don't have much evidence in dentistry. What he actually said was that we don't even have the evidence to prove that John Mew's correct. Now, just let that sink in. So he's using my father being incorrect as a reference point for bad science. So clearly my father is incorrect. So clearly, I imagine what he's done, he's asked some orthodontist, and the orthodontist has said, yeah. Well, he's not evidence-based. And he's then said, so why is he not evidence-based? And they've said, we just don't have the evidence to prove it. Funnily enough, because he's right. That's why you don't have the evidence. I said to this guy, that's my father. And he goes, yes, of course. And I go, of course you didn't know that was my father. And no one's going to say that straight to me. Maybe you were very angry with me. Or maybe you thought I was complete weeb or drip or something else, which I don't think I came across as. So, but that's what we're against. I've emailed researchers and people in interesting fields that I'd love to connect with, and they just don't get back. They just don't return the mails. That's how hard it is to network and then on beyond that do search for science and get things going. And of course, I've written to all the dental schools multiple times. There's this 5-year campaign with my nearest teaching school. That teaching school, asking them to do the basic level of research with me. They said no. They've got to go, we've got to do interesting things that sort of pays the bills type comments. So where do you go? I mean, you just, so I can't get that objective clinical evidence because the teaching schools, who, let me remind you, they're publicly funded. So those teaching schools with those publicly funded researchers are funded by my money, my bucks and my patients' bucks. And they're deciding not to even respond to me. That's not how it's supposed to work. The way it's supposed to work is that I report to my local scientific centre and I said, look, I see this thing that's a little bit abnormal, or I've got this idea, or I've got whatever. You at least engage with me. You at least discuss. I've never yet gone and had a conversation. 5-year letter writing campaign, I've never actually talked to them. I think that's a bit of a shame. Here, it just seems stuck. Science is stuck because they can't prove me wrong, so they don't want to engage with me, I think. And that's it. Can't do anything else. I could never do the science here that's going to prove anyone. And no one's ever going to turn around and go, oh, yes, you've done that wonderful bit of science. Well done, Mike. Yes, I buy it. Because remember, I'm trying to change facial growth. They're trying to change teeth. And I'm saying, well, how do we even compare what we're doing? because I don't get great straight teeth. You do, yes, wonderful. What are those teeth going to look like when you stop the retainers? And if you do hold on to the retainers, are you not holding those teeth out of their balance position? And yet you know the balance position between the lips, tongues and cheek. We know that myofunctional therapy exists. You know that. So why don't you at least tell people wearing retainers, oh, myofunctional therapy exists. You could change the balance position so you don't need the retainer. Because otherwise, is the retainer not holding teeth in positions they don't want to be in? Okay, fine, you can do that. Have you cognited that you can't hold the bone in positions where they don't want to be? You can hold the teeth, fine, yeah, but you can't do it with the bone. So, what are you doing? Anyway, okay, tomorrow we go back in. Anyone who wants to come watch again, there's some links underneath. So I'll put the links down underneath if you want to watch this, because it's, it's an open court. You can link in. You mustn't record it. Okay? Mustn't. I'm not here. Please don't, you'll do me a disservice if little snippets of this court case come up places. Because, please don't. Where we are is my barrister has just started interviewing or cross-examining the main expert, the orthodontic expert. So this is the make and break. And he's been really ballsy. He's gone right up front and he's said, okay, Mr. Mr. Stephen Powell, I am going to prove that you are biased towards the prosecution. You've become basically you're working for the proper prosecution. And I think this is a problem. In my observation of what I'm hearing from people, so many people are saying, in dentistry, are saying the GDC is not fit for purpose. And I think this is one of the things, because everyone's just falling under the bus. What's happening is, in a rush to raise standards, we don't have any money, so they can't use the carrot. So what they're doing is they're using the stick, and they're using the stick to beat people down who do anything wrong. So this is but partly wrapped up with, the public's right. Well, if the public's right and that the dentists are wrong, and then beat the dentist down with a stick, get the most aggressive barristers and experts to get results, get people, demonstrate that they're striking off or, finding dentists guilty of something. That's it. They need to find dentists guilty. So what they've done, they've got these experts, they've loaded up the experts, they've given them this mission. And the experts, have become advocates for the GDC. And I think what's happened is this has become common, or generally common, within the General Dental Council. And that just because there's group thought. If I'd gone with the conventional team that were going to be provided by my insurance, it would have been people who did this all the time. They worked for that big medical insurance company, and they regularly did these jobs with them. They had teamwork, everyone knew everyone, nice cozy relationship, and you have group thought. You get mission creep, and the prosecution gets more and more aggressive, and everyone goes, well, that's how prosecutions are, that's it. And we forget, actually, this expert was supposed to be independent. And he's so clear, in my opinion, he so most clearly isn't independent. He reeks of being an advocate of the opposition, of the prosecution. So Stephen Bullock says, right, well, we don't pussyfoot around. We set it right out there. Yep. So we put him on the back foot. No plan goes beyond engagement with the enemy, survives engagement with the enemy. So clearly no plan, but the more you can rattle him, the more you can make him think, well, hang around, am I being too biased? Where am I going to lie my opinion? Then you've got him into a very good position where you can push him, and Stephen has been very good at that already. He is a lovely chap, but don't be swayed with his mellow words. Oh, here we go. This is the wife. I better, whoop. Yep. I think that's dinner going to be on at home. So, guys, I'll put some links in underneath. We're getting going. It's going to be fascinating. This is going to be make or break within the next couple of days. And for this element, if we can get him thrown out, well, then more or less one. There might be. It's not going to be a problem. If we can get Stephen Powell thrown out, well, whoa, what does that do? That's going to be historic. That's going to demonstrate that possibly all of the previous prosecutions where Stephen Powell has been may be unsafe. such as my father's. That would be fascinating, wouldn't it? Okay. And the whole thing, and then the orthodontic, the current orthodontic narrative, well, does it fall? Will it fall with Stephen Powell? Is he to an extreme geneticist? Because a lot of people in academia who believe exactly what he believes. And if he uses this belief argument and we get him thrown out, what's that saying about the general orthodontic narrative? The narrative upon which millions and millions of children are having their health affected. This is big stuff. I mean, it's boring in court. I mean, it's dull. I mean, they've got the camera turned off half the time so you can't see images. It's dull as ditch water. But the essence of what's going down here is absolutely fascinating. This is a culmination of 3 generations of my family. So culminations of thousands and thousands, millions maybe, I don't know, of our hours, time and effort to get to this place. Here it's being decided. Yeah, it's boring. It's court. It's court, whatever you expect. Yeah. All right, listen. Thank you very much. If you can turn up, watch me, great.